Good morning. Welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation. This is your match day morning. This is the build-up to the big game today, as Rangers play hopefully our last league game at Hampden Park against Ross County. Just a reminder, guys, if you want a bit of an insight into our opponents ahead of this evening's game, then if you head over to the channel, check it out. There is, of course, the video we did last night where I talked to Ross from the County Corner, which is a Ross County podcast, talking about all things Ross County, picking up some bits and pieces about their players, about their hopes for the season, about their hopes for today's game as well. So please, obviously, take a bit of time to check that one out. Well, it's match day. It's I don't know. It's a strange one. It's a game that obviously we should be winning. It's a game that we shouldn't be worrying about, but we are. Morning to Rangers Journal. How you doing? Guess that's Scotty commenting. Morning, Stuart. How you doing, buddy? You know, it's a game that we should be winning. A game that we should obviously not be fearing. But, you know, after last season, who knows what the situation will be. Obviously, you know, playing at Hampden, playing in Glasgow is very different to obviously playing in Dingwall. Dingwall, obviously, travelling up to Dingwall and travelling to that little ground to play Ross County is very different to obviously playing at Hampden Park. 100% agree with what Scotty just says. Head on a sub to Rangers Journal after the pod. Yeah, that'd be great, guys. Please check that one out. It's going to be a busy day here on the channel as well. We've got an awful lot coming up today. We've got a watch-along coming up. That's coming up later, obviously before the game. We'll be doing a live watch-along, so come and join us for that. I've also got a post-match podcast scheduled for tonight. It's myself and it is the president of the James Tavernier fan club, Mr. Curry Muncher himself. We're on tonight. We're going to be talking about the game, looking at the game, looking at what obviously happened this afternoon once the game has taken place. So please, obviously, come and join me and the legend that is the Curry Muncher tonight to talk over the game. Hey, Stephen, how you doing this morning? You know, there's lots of it. There's obviously not much. Still, obviously, the interesting news. The transfer rumours are swirling and beginning to really kick in. Like I said on the video this morning, obviously, by this time next week, the squad will be set in stone. It'll be set in stone. We'll have a squad. That'll be it until January. There'll be no more transfer rumours, transfer speculation, and whatever we've got is whatever we have to deal with until January. Morning, Scott. You want Rice and Fraser? That's obviously in response to the poll that I'm running this morning. Which young player would you like to see given an opportunity? Like I said, I'm a big fan of the youth players. I think, I'm a big fan of Robbie Fraser, massive fan of Bailey Rice. I think they both should be given an opportunity. Gary, morning from Australia. How are you doing out there? What time is it over in Oz? Let me know. One interesting, obviously, story affecting our Glasgow rivals this morning is that Matt O'Reilly is joining Brighton for £25 million, which could rise eventually to £30 million, depending on add-ons. So Celtic are newly cash rich and no doubt will strengthen next week. So be shopping in a very different market to us, I imagine, with the money they've got. I did a little bit of a look up actually on Matt O'Reilly. Did you know he only cost them 1.5 million and he earns £14,000 a week? Matt O'Reilly earns £14,000 a week at Celtic. Now, if you compare that with Rangers at this moment in time, 11 of our players are on more than £14,000 a week. 11. James Tavernier, £30,000 a week. Ben Davis, £27,000 a week. Cyril Dessers, £27,000 a week. Danilo, £26,000 a week. Jack Butland, £25,000 a week. Robbie Matondo, £23,000 a week. Todd Cantwell, anything between £22,000 and £25,000 a week, depending on which source you look at. Tom Lawrence, £22,000 a week. Dujon, not Raheem Sterling. I'd love Raheem Sterling. Dujon Sterling, £22,000 a week. Nicholas Raskin, £19,000 a week. And even Kieran Dowell is on more than Matt O'Reilly at £16,000 a week. I think that just demonstrates to me that there has been some exceptionally bad financial decisions made by the club over the last couple of years in terms of contracts being given out. I would ask you guys on this, how many of those players deserve what they are getting per week? I would argue Jack Butland and Dujon Sterling, and that is probably about it from that list that deserve what they're getting per week. But yeah, interesting nonetheless. Now, morning to Duncan. How you doing, Duncan? How's life? Down here in England, it is absolutely pissing it down. I think the word you guys use up in Scotland is dreek. It's a very dreek day here in England, in the Midlands of England. Horrible, wet and rainy outside. Putting off going to walk the dog because I don't want to get wet. I guess I am a wuss. But look, the transfer window does seem to be hotting up. Now, I've read a couple of rumours this morning that I do think are largely not true. The first one that I read this morning was that Scott Wright is allegedly interesting Hearts. Personally, can't see that one happening. Don't think that's realistic. Hearts, they've got Vargas there. I just generally don't think that Scott Wright is a player that they would be interested in. Realistically, no, I don't think that's a goer. I don't think that's going to happen. Morning, Sharpie. How you doing, mate? So I don't think Scott Wright to Hearts is a goer. There was a worrying report that I did read during the week that apparently Philippe Clement has said that he wants to keep Scott Wright. That's what I read. I'm hoping that was just someone making that up, and that was again another spurious rumor coming out of the Rangers social media rumor mill. The toxicity that can be the Rangers social media rumor mill at times. I'm really hoping that Scott Wright is not on the keep list. I think the only reason we'd be keeping Scott Wright is to make up the numbers in Europe so that we can have a 25-man squad because obviously homegrown players do form part of that quota. So, yeah, I think hopefully that one's not. That one is... I'd love it to be true. Don't get me wrong. I would love Scott Wright to be on his way out of the club and be getting sold this very, very soon. Of course I would. The guy, he's not a good footballer. Scott Wright has his positives, doesn't he? He works exceptionally hard. He's fast. He can stick to a formation. He can track back well, but his end product lets him down. I think that's the issue with Scott Wright, is the end product is very poor. The crosses into the box are not great. And when he goes through on the goalkeeper, he always seems to just pass the ball back to the goalkeeper rather than actually burying it in the back of the net. Scott Wright for me. Hopefully that is one that will depart by the end of this window. But interesting, though, that it seems to be Hearts that are linked. Look, I've got no doubt in my mind that Scott Wright would do quite well for Hearts. He'd do quite well for Hibs. He'd do quite well for any other Scottish team, I believe. Probably not against the Old Firm, obviously, but, I think he'd do okay in other teams. Now, the big rumour that's going around at the moment is regarding Blackburn captain and central defensive midfielder Lewis Travis. I must admit, I've nearly called him Randy Travis on a number of occasions. Those of you who don't know who Randy Travis is, he's an American country and western singer. Big country and western fan I am. Love a bit of country singing. Big fan of Luke Combs at the moment. If you haven't checked out his stuff, check out his stuff. But Lewis Travis seems to be the name that is all over social media, all over reports this morning that he is linked with a move to Rangers. I think I've read a lot of stuff, and I've read again, looked on social media. Yes, social media is a toxic place. Yes, social media is a place where you've got to kind of put a caveat on anything. Oh God, I'm turning into John Bennett. Put a warning on anything that you can, you read on there, because let's face it, fans are opinionated. Fans will have their opinions. Some of them have very strong opinions, and some of them don't like opinions that counteract their opinions. So look, Travis, I think what the issue is with Lewis Travis is this. I think that there's an awful lot of mental and physical scarring in the Rangers fan base, but because of the Sharpie says in the live chat, we'd be better with a country and western singer in the team right now. Lol. Luke Coombs is a big guy, mate. Put him at the back. Where was I? Travis, yeah, Lewis Travis, yeah. I think the problem with Lewis Travis is there's a lot of mental scarring and physical scarring over the signing of championship players. And I'm going to get on to obviously one of those players shortly. Philippe Clement said something really interesting about Todd Cantwell yesterday, which I think kind of tells a little bit of a story. I think because of the fact that in the past we've signed championship players who have gone on to, not really do a a great job for the club, who've let the club down, who have obviously been either injury prone or have just not been up to the task. You know, I talk of Kieran Dowell, Ben Davis, Todd Cantwell to some degree, Kemar Roof. You know, people like that who've come into the club being either injury prone or, you know, not up to the job. And there's a lot of scarring as regards, you know, the situation with Championship players. But look, I mean, I watch Championship football. I watch EPL football. I watch Championship football. I'm a football fan. I know I do watch English football. I am here in England. I don't have an English team. I don't support any English teams. I have soft spots for a couple of them. You know, my youngest daughter is a Liverpool fan. My mum is a Sunderland fan. My dad's a Leeds fan. So, you know, I do obviously hope they do well for my family. But, you know, Rangers is my team. But, you know, at the end of the day, Championship players, there are some good players in the Championship. There are some very good players in the Championship, and I would include Lewis Travis in that list. Like I said, I understand where the mental scarring is. I understand what the worry and the concern is about Travis, that he's a Championship player, that he's, you know, that he's just obviously going to come up here, be on high wages, not do a job, be injury prone, yada, 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 etc., etc. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's right. I think, you know, if Niels Koppen and Philippe Clement have identified Travis as someone who can fit into the system, someone who can help the team, someone who can get the team going and help the team to play the caliber, style and the type of football that Clement wants them to play, then I think we've got to go with that. We've got to have faith in Philippe Clement. We've got to have faith in Niels Koppen to do the jobs. I mean, as you know, as has been said by a number of fans now, we cannot continue to go down the same route as Chelsea, the same route as Watford in the south of the border, and the same route that we're heading down at this moment in time, where every 18 months to 2 years we sack a manager and we bring a new one in. You know, that can't be allowed to continue, because the club's just going to end up in a permanent state of flux and a permanent state of chaos going forward. You know, you've got to pick your horse and stick by it, and I think that's what we've got to do with Clement. We've got to give him the chance. We've got to give him and Koppen the chance to build a team. And if they see Travis, Lewis Travis, not Randy Travis, as a you know, as a potential player, then I think we need to give them that time. We need to give them that chance to sign that player. Like I said, you know, on the video this morning, he is a good player. He, you know, he's the type of player we need. You know, we do look disjointed, we do look uncoordinated in midfield, and we need someone who's going to organise that midfield. You know, Connor Barron is doing a fine job at the moment. Mo Diamande is a top player. You know, I believe, you know, in Diamande and Barron, we've got two absolute class players. But, you know, we do need to add into that. We do seem to have a paucity of resources. I mean, obviously, Nicholas Raskin being back helps. Of course, it does. But we do seem to have a paucity of resources in that area at this moment in time, especially as obviously Clement doesn't appear to be willing to give Rice, McKinnon their opportunity there. So, you know, if Lewis Travis is a player that is interesting them, he looks a player. Like I said, he also played as part of the Ipswich team that got promotion from the Championship to the Premiership last season, a team that played good, fast, fluid attacking football under Kieran McKenna. You know, a team that was very much direct in terms of the directness of attacking, not long ball direct, but, you know, wanted to get the ball forward, wanted to play forward, wanted to be positive all the time with the ball. Travis was part of that system. So, you know, if that's something that he's used to, something that he's come up with, something that he has been developed in, then, you know, I think this is a player we've got to give an opportunity to. Bobby Finley says, I was told Rangers are waiting till January to get Shanks on a pre-contract as not paying 4 or 5 million. Maybe get him cheap in January. I mean, that is a possibility. I think Hearts are stuck in a very difficult position, Bobby, when it comes to Lawrence Shankland. You know, Lawrence Shankland is not in the best of form at this moment in time. You know, he really, you know, he's not playing well at all for them, is he? You know, I don't think he scored a goal this season. But, you know, and I think maybe some of that is all the speculation is affecting him. You know, speculation affects players. Of course it does. Anything that takes their mind off the game slightly does affect them. We've seen that, you know, with Rangers players in the past. As for Shankland, I think Hearts are in a difficult position with Shankland because, you know, at the end of the day, £4 or £5 million, they're not going to get that. That's what they want. That's what they've said they want for Shankland, but they're not going to get that when you've got a player who's going to be out of contract in the summer. Most clubs are going to say, we're going to sit on our hands, we're going to wait. You know, we're going to say, well, no, we're going to just wait till we can get him on a pre-contract, then we get him for free in the summer, and you get nothing for him, Hearts. So, you know, I think Hearts are in a very difficult position, and perhaps a little bit of cutting their nose off to spite their face a little bit there. I mean, there is rumours going around that Celtic are interested in Shankland. Can't see him going there personally. But that is where we're up to with Shankland. So, yeah, absolutely. Gary Miller makes a great point here. Can't ignore Championship completely. Just need caution. What have we got here? Gary says, Dio for captain till Barron is ready. I mean, Barron for me is very, very impressive. He really is very, very impressive. I mean, again, listening to Conor Barron talk yesterday, he was spot on. He was absolutely brilliant. For someone so young, he talks so well about the game. He talks so well, and he has such a professional way of speaking about the game as well, and in one so young. And the other thing about Conor Barron is it's not just how he talks off the field, it's what he does on the field. Now, people talk about captains, and if you look at the great Rangers captains of the past, some captains say, like, for instance, Terry Butcher was one of the ones that springs out, John Gregg, people like that, Barry Ferguson. People see a captain has been a ranter, a raver, a yeller, a shouter, but sometimes it's a player who leads by example. Sometimes it's a player who inspires through his actions. And Conor Barron is certainly someone who inspires through his actions. You watch his game on a daily basis. The guy runs his heart out. He runs himself into the ground every single game. If he loses a tackle, he's back up and back at that player. He's not a player who just quits or downs tools or gives up. He's a player who always tries. So, not only, like I said, is the professionalism and the way he talks brilliant, there's also the issue, the whole positivity about the way he plays the game, the way he is so positive about. And if you look at him as well, he's always wanting the ball. He's offering. And if you watch what he does when he gets the ball, unlike John Lundstrom last season, what is the first thing Conor Barron does? Turns, looks forward. Who wants it? Where am I going to give it? Where am I going to push it forward? I'm not going to push it backwards. I'm not going to push it sideways. I'm going to get it forward. And he will only go sideways or backwards if there is literally no other option to pass to. So he's very positive. I mean, what he said yesterday, this is just a quote from him yesterday. He says, I know what I can do and bring to the team. The style of play is different to what I've been used to in the past. Think it suited my game. It's about me focusing on improving, and there is more to come. This is just the start for me and the team. It is about kicking on and winning games for the club. And that's, very much, again, Conor is a team guy, isn't he? He's not an I guy. He's not a guy who thinks only about himself. He's not a social media guru. He's someone who wants to be there for the team. He's a team guy, and he's really, really impressive. Really impressive. Alan Austin says, watch out for a bit of horse trading in January where Scott Wright heads for Hearts and Shankland heads for Ibrox. That's an interesting shout there from Alan. Hello from Toronto. Hey, Sid, how you doing? I can't believe Tav wasn't offloaded this summer. He's miles off it these days. I have no comment on James Tavernier. Tav will get slaughtered playing Celtic, especially as I was accused yesterday on another podcast of talking behind James Tavernier's back. Well, isn't that what every podcaster does? Talks behind players' backs because we don't talk directly to the players. So whether it's Heart and Hand, whether it's Four Lads, whether it's Rangers Review, whether it's Glasgow Rangers Nation, Club at 22, Jersnet, This is Ibrox, we all talk about the players. So is that not indirectly talking behind their back? I think the person who made that statement is a fucking idiot, if I'm being honest. Barron is like Stuart McCall, never stops. Alan, that's a good shout. Yeah, that's a good shout. Same colour hair as well. He is absolutely will, mate. Maida will tear him a new one, says Sharpie. Yeah, absolutely. Curry, how you doing, Curry? I would say it to his face. Yeah, it's me too, mate. I tell Tav what I thought of him to his face. Bobby says here, Alan, I thought he's more like Ferguson, but playing more advanced than he could be a McCall bud. Morning to CJ. Just a reminder, guys, post-match podcast tonight. Myself and the president of the James Tavernier fan club, Mr. Curry Muncher, will be on tonight talking over the game as well. Are we going to replace Matondo with another left winger as well as the CM from Blackburn? I think that is very much the intention, hence the negotiations that are ongoing with Bracalo, Gouveia and Kamara. So I do think that will happen. I do think there will be another winger. I think in terms of that Bracalo deal, that Gouveia deal, or Kamara deal, whichever deal goes through on the winger, I think it does very much depend on us getting a player out. So until Matondo leaves, until, say, Hadji leaves, Cantwell leaves, whoever, we are pretty much hamstrung in terms of bringing in players. So yeah, I think there will be a winger coming in, but I do think it will depend on departures first, if I'm being honest at this, with this situation. The other right, so let's talk about Hadji and Cantwell now. Philippe Clement made a very interesting statement yesterday as regards Cantwell and Hadji. He talked a bit about, he was asked about, no, he's not Sharpie. Leeds have just signed a winger. I can't remember the guy's name. My dad was telling me about him earlier last night. I can't remember the guy's name. He has signed, so they've signed a winger. So they're not interested in Matondo. There was never any truth in the Matondo to Leeds rumours. Leeds have bought him and they're buying a guy called Mano Solomon or something like that as well. I think I was told last night. So no, they're not interested in him. It's Blackburn Rovers that are interested in buying Matondo Sharpie, something which John Eustace, their manager, has actually said. If Clement does sit Tavernier versus the Filth and plays Sterling at right back, what does that tell Tav? He doesn't trust him. Well, why is he here then? Tav wants his testimonial, so doesn't want to go. I would love to see a couple of younger players get a run out today. So would I, I'd love to see it. I'm hoping so, Scott. I would love to see some younger players get an opportunity to play. At least we know it's not Clement stopping Cantwell from playing for the B team. It's Cantwell pretty much refusing to play. Right, so let's get to that comment. So, yeah, Clement was asked about the whole Cantwell situation. He was asked about why Cantwell isn't playing for the B team. Hadji is currently playing for the B team. Hadji's going out there, playing. Hadji is being a very professional guy. Hadji, for me, is, spot on with his attitude. He hasn't come back from the Euros and sulked. He hasn't come back from the Euros and downed his tools, spat his dummy out the pram and said, I'm not playing. I want to move away. I want you to play me or else I'm not doing anything. Yada, 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 yada. But he's been professional, and I admire Yanis for that. I really do admire Yanis for that. I think the reason we're not playing him is the $6,000. Clement has pretty much made it clear that Yanis is not part of his plans. That's pretty clear, which is sad. I'd prefer Yanis to be given an opportunity. I think, the $6,000 risk is worth it. But look, at the end of the day, the Cantwell situation has taken a turn. Is very different. So Clement said yesterday that he didn't name Cantwell directly, but what he said was, it's not my decision that people are not playing for the B team, and that was it. He left that comment there. Now, I very much doubt it's David McCallum, the B team manager, who's refusing to play Cantwell. From the fact that he will do pretty much what Philippe Clement wants him to do. If Philippe Clement says, I want you to play Nsiala, I want you to play Hadji, I want you to play Lowry, I want you to play Dowell, I want you to play Long, or whoever, he's going to play him. That's just how it works. If the manager says to the B team coach, I want you to use these first team players today to give them minutes, he will do it. So I don't think that's the situation. I think Cantwell is turning up for training, and is fulfilling that part of his contract and turning up for work every day to fulfill his contract. But I think he is refusing to play B team football. The reasons why, well, I think he's probably seeing it as being a risk of getting injured. If he gets injured, then obviously he can't be sold. That's probably why he's doing it. But I think the situation is extremely unfortunate. I've stuck up for Cantwell here. I've been honest with you. I have stuck up for Todd Cantwell. I've sat on this pod and I've stuck up for Todd Cantwell. I've said, it's not his fault, etc., etc. He wants to move away, let him move away, but we should be still using him. We're paying him wages, yada, yada, yada. But if Cantwell is truly refusing to play, if he's truly refusing to do what Yanis Hadji is, then the guy has no place at this club anymore. He really doesn't. Yanis, for me, has displayed the perfect professional attitude. He's gone out there. He's played for the B team. He's tried every game. You watch some of the B team games, you can't ever accuse Yanis Hadji of not trying. Todd Cantwell is behaving in an unprofessional manner. If your boss asks you to do a job or asks you to go and do something, and you are a contracted employee of that business, you cannot refuse. You cannot say, no, I'm not doing that. Don't want to do that. Can't be bothered to do that today. I work in retail. And if my store manager comes to me and says to me, Owen, I want you to go and work all the fruit and veg today, and I can't go, nah, I'm not doing it. Don't feel like it. Don't want to do that. It's not for me. I might hurt my back. So no, I'm not doing it. I'd get the sack. I'd get the sack. So, Cantwell for me is behaving in a very unprofessional manner. And like I said, if that is the case, that he is refusing to play for the B team for whatever reason, something needs to be done about it, whether it's fined wages, something like that. There does need to be something done about it, because players cannot be allowed to get away with that. That's breach of contract. That's, unprofessional. And for me, it's bang out of order. For me personally, I know it's different. I'm a fat, unfit, overweight 46-year-old who talks shit on YouTube. But look, at the end of the day, if I was given an opportunity to play for Rangers, A team, B team, C team, amateur team, Legends team, YouTube team, I'd go and run through walls wearing a Rangers jersey. I would absolutely run through brick walls wearing a Rangers jersey. And if you're not willing to do that for the club, then we don't want you here. Quite simple as. Gary's right. It is a huge week for us. Alan says Leeds were used to make Blackburn fans believe they've won a battle for Matondo's signature. Clever bit of publicity. Bobby says Cantwell thinks he's great and has realised he isn't wanted anywhere. Is there not a loophole to terminate a contract if a player refuses to play? There probably is, but the problem is if you terminate someone's contract, then you can't get any money for them when you sell them. And I don't think Rangers are really in a position to start terminating contracts at this moment in time. We need every penny we can get in. Sid says today should be a test run for next week. Tactics, formation, starting 11, barring proper. Interesting. Shanks us down tools for us. Blackburn is a shithole. Morning all, says Robert. It's not the best place, mate. I've been there a couple of times. It's not the best place. Cantwell thinks he's bigger than every club he goes to. He needs to grow up, says Sharpie. We do not know why Cantwell is not playing. He has to give his side. Let's not forget why Clement has treated him in public. What's it like behind closed doors, says Curry. If Cantwell is refusing to play, then dock him his wages. McCallum should be nowhere near the B team. It's regressed since he took over. Agreed on that one. Cantwell probably thinks he's better than the B team. Cantwell is a mystery. Beale plucked him from the Norwich kids team. He falls out with people. I think that's the issue. I think, Curry, I think, and everybody, I think that, he's got previous, hasn't he? He's got previous for it. At the end of the day, he has got previous for it. He is a player that, has fallen out with people, has, caused trouble where he's been. At Norwich, he was dropped as well because of his attitude problems. I'm a big believer in this. If you have problems wherever you go, if you have problems with people, wherever you work, wherever you are, then the problem is not them. The problem is you. You are the one causing the problem. If the problem follows you around, it's you that's the problem. Cantwell needs to start to realise that he is the problem and he needs to grow up a little bit. Look, and I have been the biggest fan of Cantwell. I have backed that boy to the hilt. I have spoken up for him on podcast. I've defended him, but I'm saying to him, he's a good look. Let's get this right. He is technically talented, a very talented footballer. He is a very, very good footballer. Todd Cantwell is a very good footballer, but he needs to start to show it on a consistent basis wherever he goes and stop with the social media, stop with the drama queen behavior, stop with the prima donna behavior. If he was going out every week and ripping it up like Lionel Messi, like Lautaro Martinez, like Kylian Mbappe, like Vinny Jr. If he was going out and like Jude Bellingham, if he was going out and ripping it up like them every week, then fine, mate. Do what you want on social media. Get your knob out on social media. Do whatever you want on social media. I couldn't give a monkeys, but if you're going out and playing on the pitch like Bellingham, like Mbappe, like Vinny Jr., if you're going out and playing like that every week and showing the talent you've got every single week, you can do what the hell you like on social media. I can give a monkeys. But when you're not doing it every week on the park, when you're not performing to the best of your abilities and you're getting preoccupied with social media, you've got to start to grow up, in my opinion. It's a great point. This is one point I don't get and I don't understand about Yanis Hadji is people say, he's too slow for Clement's system. Yeah, because of course Tom Lawrence is like a frigging whippet, isn't he? I don't get that. 100% don't get that. Nobody wants him though, and he's on a high wage. It says hi. Cantwell thought that he was coming to Scotland to rip it up and get a big move down south again, and he spat the dummy out. Hadji's contract wage rise is the issue. That's why he's not playing. That is right, Scott. Common denominator in the Cantwell problem is Cantwell. Is Davis going out on loan? Heard a new CB coming. So yeah, Davis is apparently heading out on loan to Birmingham with an option to buy next summer, Bobby. This is where Walter did the thing. Paul Scholes once said he was any manager to give him the fear when he was number 2 at Man United. Modern game is all about lean players and speed. If Hadji survives the window, a discussion has to be held with that clause. That was criminal. Agreed, Alan Austin. Agreed, buddy. Agreed. Yeah. One of our greatest ever players had problems with at every club he had, and he would be treated the same way as Cantwell. Yeah, Gaza. Agreed, Curry. But Gaza backed it up, didn't he, at every game? It's a pity his on-field skill doesn't match his attitude. Ross McPhee says, do you believe that Diamonde and Barron work as a 2 in behind a more attacking midfielder? I think they could. I think they could, Ross, if we went out and got someone who can play there. You know, Bracalo can play in the 10. Yeah, I think they could. Personally, I'd like to see us ditch the 10 system. I'd like to see us go with a flat 3 with Barron and a 6 either side of Diamonde, and Diamonde being given the more freedom to get forward. Dio is more effective when he works in forward areas. Dio is less effective when he has to come back to get the ball. Morning, buddy. Morning, mate. How you doing? How's Miami this morning? No one knows his contract. If he's breaking his contract by not playing the B team, Rangers would fine him. No fine, no breaking of contract. Yeah, that's fine. 4th best goal scorer last season. No, that's fine, mate. Yeah, look, to Curry, I've defended Cantwell. I'm just kind of raising this alternative point to this morning. Again, Gaza had Walter to keep him in line. He knew how to control these players. Yes, Sir Walter was a wonderful, wonderful man. Look, I mean, so let's get away from Cantwell. I'm a bit bored and fed up of talking about Cantwell now. I think the sooner he's gone, the better. The worrying thing about Todd Cantwell for me is there seems to be a lack of interest. Morning, Stephen. There seems to be a lack of interest in Todd Cantwell. You know, there really does seem to be there. I mean, there's talk of Trabzonspor. What I'm reading this morning is Trabzonspor are keeping their powder dry and waiting. So, you know, at the end of the day, it could be an 11th hour job on transfer deadline day. Cantwell to Trabzon could happen. If that's the case, it leaves us in a position where we will be working against the time, against the clock to bring a player in. So who knows? Who knows? Curry says 10 would be fine if the mid 2 did not have to cover the right back position. Says Curry. It's the president of the James Tavernier fan club there. Cantwell told the fans to shush after he scored against Hearts last season and the league was already lost. He's a clown, says Stuart. F217 says, wonder if Tavernier will pick up a knock today, so to miss getting pasted at the P. Mate, that's a conspiracy theory in itself. F217. No doubt I'm sure the aliens from Roswell are watching at this moment in time. We need a right back, says Gary. We do. Do we keep paying him or terminate his contract? Like I said, I don't think we can afford to start terminating contracts high. We need every penny we can get. My big question today, obviously, as well, is does Hamza Igman get a game for Rangers today? Gary says, thought we should have gone for Will Fish on loan. Decent shout. All the Tav lovers keep going about his number, many goals and assists. He got this season 1 assist, says Stuart. Yeah, fine. Yeah, absolutely, Stuart. I agree. Yeah, he has only 1 assist this season. That is factually correct. Like I said, I don't really have an opinion on Tav anymore. I'm fed up with the abuse every time I mention James Tavernier. So, look, at the end of the day, does Igman get a game today? Does Igman get a game today? That's the question. What was interesting was Philippe Clement's quote yesterday about Hamza Igman. He came out and he spoke about Hamza Igman liking to play in big spaces, not small spaces, and the fact that he had taken and done 3 training sessions last week. Look, I'm no expert. I don't know how often Rangers train. I presume every day. I don't know what goes on at training. I don't know what Igman's training program is. I don't know how fit he is. I don't know what injury situation is with him. I'm just kind of talking in general here. Hamza Igman did 3 training sessions last week, apparently 3 team training sessions. Why only 3 team training sessions? Why was he only able to do 3 team training sessions? To me, there's something not quite right about this whole Hamza Igman situation at Rangers. You know, we spent £1.6 million on a player. Look, I'm not criticising him. I'm not slagging him off. I'm not saying the boy's not a good footballer. He might be a brilliant footballer. I'm just kind of trying to ask the question, why is he only doing 3 sessions a week? Why did we sign a player who wasn't fit and was injured? Why is this boy not playing in the B team? if it is that he needs match minutes and he is needing to get match fit, is sticking him on the bench and bringing him on for 20 minutes, half an hour in a first team game the best thing for him? Would it not be better to give him 45 minutes in the B team or bring him off the bench in the B team first to give him some minutes? Especially the fact he hasn't played in Scotland, he hasn't played in Britain, he's only played in Morocco. So what's going on with Hamza Igman? Why is it that he's only doing 3 team sessions a week? Is that because he's doing 2 other individual sessions? Is his fitness still not up to where it needs to be? And if his individual fitness is not up to where it needs to be, what's happened and what's gone wrong between him being fit in terms of not injured and getting to this point on the 24th of August? There's something just not quite right with the thing. There's something just a little bit sus with it. I don't know what it is. I'm just kind of putting it out there to discuss, why is it that he's only doing 3 sessions a week? I don't get that. Is he only part-time? Has he got a part-time contract? I don't know. Jamie would use Igman off the bench. We could all do with an Arab. He's playing in the game tomorrow. Igman says Gary. Are we going to see a late bid for Whittaker? I doubt it high. They want 7 to 10 million for him, so I can't see that happening, mate. We haven't got the money. Has Tav looked slow to everyone this season? I felt this way. Just wanted the opinion of you and people. Ross, he looks unfit. He looks very slow at this moment in time, mate, if I'm being honest with you. Cantwell slowly realising that he isn't going to City, Man U, Real will be good for him. Humbled with a point to prove. Wish he had a thicker skin than he does. Cries at criticism, says Stephen. Tav is useless going forward now as he feels he is defending. There is no use keeping him. Keep annoying Elon Musk Sharpie for naming rights to Ibrox. Lol, don't have to change the name, just add the X. Interesting, Jamie. 1 week until we see Tav v Maida. He's going to get exposed again. If Igman gets played, it would mean leaving Danilo Desses out. What does it say if it's £6 million striker or the guy that's scoring goals? Good point, Curry. I'm talking more as off the bench. Why is he not getting any minutes off the bench? Bring them both on. I think Danilo can play as a 10. I think he really can. We need players, not prospects, says Stuart. Danilo needs for game time today ahead of the Old Firm next week. Would you rather start Danilo or Desses in the Old Firm? Stuart, I said on the video this morning, I would start Danilo today and rest Desses for next week. 2 reasons for that. Number one, Danilo needs match minutes, okay? And yeah, he may only play 45 minutes, 50 minutes an hour, but he needs minutes. You're not going to get Danilo back match fit if you don't play him or don't use him. So for me, it's only, and this may be a remark that comes back to haunt me, it's only Ross County. Danilo, for me, I would start Danilo today and play Desses next week, because the one thing I'd say about Cyril Desses is this: you cannot keep playing him game after game after game after game after game and flogging the guy to death. No matter what you think of Desses as a player, as a finisher, as a striker, as a footballer, if you play them constantly and they're playing 60, 65 games a season, you are going to flog them to death. And, Clement's all for rotation. He's all for, using players sparingly, trying to keep players as fit as possible. For me, I would use Desses next week, play Danilo this week, get Danilo fitter. I wouldn't dream of starting Danilo against Celtic because the guy's not match fit. You can only have your match fit players you're playing against Celtic next week. So for me, I would play Danilo today, give him 45, 50 minutes, 55 minutes today, bring Desses on then, rest Desses for next week, get Desses in fresh, ready to go. And he may feel he's got something to prove then against Celtic as well. So that's what I would do, Stuart. Alan says, I think Igman has to transition from Morocco facilities. Could be a shock. Training will be alien. And his English is probably nowhere near. He's been integrated now. Good shout, Alan. Wasn't fit when we signed him. Rangers B and some of the first team players. That's tomorrow, is it? Gary, I haven't seen that, mate. I must admit. I'm starting the choo-choo chant for Igman, the Walrus, the Union Bears, lol. Have just realised Hamza is not up to the standard we need. Thomas says here, Tav gets skinned by average players. F217 says, Curry Muncher, exactly. The whole formation of the team is severely hampered with our midfielders having to cover for our useless right back constantly. Curry says, Owen, do the same as first half. Yeah, I agree, Curry. 100%, mate. 100%. Sharpie says Desses is better off the bench. I mean, there's actually an argument for that. Desses, when he was at Feyenoord, he used to score all his goals coming off the bench for Feyenoord. If Hadji wants to stay, he could keep the wages the same, simple. Daneo's link-up play against St Johnstone the first half was great. After match fitness, he will become the player we paid the money and score the goals we need. Hopefully, Ross. Hopefully. Good shout, rotation. Stephen says, a snail is quicker than Tav. Scott says, do you think Dessers could still be sold this week? Scott, I think anyone could be sold this week, mate. Honestly, anybody could be sold this week. You know, as Clement himself said, mate, anyone apart from Jack Butland, everyone has a price tag. Everyone has a price tag. So, yeah, I do think he could still be sold this week. I don't think there's any player on that team that is safe from being... Well, I'll rephrase that. I think Connor Barron is. I think Václav Černý is because he's not our player. Cortez is because he's not officially our player yet. Dio, I don't even think Dio's safe. I think Barron is. I think Butland is. But I think if someone came in and, say, bid 10 million for Dio, I think it's unlikely. But, you know, we take the money. We take the money. Stuart says, this is our main striker now. Simple. Stuart, I think he is at the moment because he's the only one who's fit. I think if Danilo starts to score goals, then that'll be a discussion that Clement has to have. I don't think you can have a main striker. I think if you look at a lot of the teams around Europe, they have a rotation of strikers. They have a number of strikers who can do the job. You know, Liverpool have got Salah, they've got Gakpo, they've got Diaz, they've got Darwin Nunez, for example. Arsenal have got Gabriel Jesus, Martinelli, the other guy, I can't remember the other guy's name now. Man City, obviously, they have Erling Haaland, but Erling Haaland is a freak. You know, a massive freak. But, you know, most teams have a rotation of strikers, mate. Even that lot across the city, they've got Ida, they've got Kyogo. So, you know, you can't just have one main striker, in my opinion, Stuart. You know, you've got to have a number of strikers who can do the job. So if one of them's out of form, the other one can step up. And I think that Danilo will come good, as Scott says. But I think once he starts scoring goals, which hopefully he will, then we'll have that discussion about that, I think. Clement is relying on his backroom physio, data, edging, GPS, get back to old school, set the team on performance, not data tracking, get back to Sir Walter days, mate. 100% agree with that one. Even if anyone in next week, what is the chances Clement throw them straight? He won't, mate. We know that. They'll have to obviously go shopping at Wickes and IKEA, won't they? So, yeah, they won't come straight in. They won't come straight. Stuart, I'm not saying we're Liverpool. What I'm saying is, yes, he has got unfit. Yeah, absolutely. Stuart, you're absolutely correct, mate. Absolutely correct. 100% correct, mate. Dessers is our main striker at this moment in time. That is 100% accurate. What I'm saying is, in 2 to 3 months, when Danilo is match fit and Igman is match fit, if they're both scoring goals as well, then that will give us 3 strikers that were scoring goals. Then we won't have a main striker. We will have a rotation of strikers. And the aim at every club is to have a rotation of strikers. Now, look, Stuart, I'm not saying for 1 minute that Cyril Dessers, that Danilo and that Igman are in the same class as Gakpo, Nunez, Diaz and Salah. They're not. They're nowhere near those guys. Those guys are world-class talents. Those guys are amazing footballers. Dessers is not even half the player that Gakpo is, or that Diaz is, or Darwin Nunez is. So look, at the end of the day, we do need 3 strikers who are all playing, all scoring goals. We can't just rely on one. If we're relying on one, we're putting ourselves in a really dodgy position, because what happens if Dessers breaks his leg? What happens if Dessers gets injured? And I know he hasn't to this point. He's been very robust, but you know what the tackling's like in Scotland. What happens if, you know, we go up against St Johnstone, or we go up against Ross County, or we go up against Dundee United, and one of their hammer throwers just goes bang and takes him out? Then we're stuck. Curry says, as I keep saying, to prove if Dessers is good enough through on goal, you are more surprised Dessers scores or misses. No comment, Curry. I'm not commenting on Dessers anymore. I'm fed up with the abuse. I've had a great heart in mouth moment the other day when I heard we were linked with Nisbet. I said, well, I wouldn't want him, mate. He's too injured. Stuart says, more surprised if he scores, lol. Surprised when he scores. Lovelace, Igman, Dessers and Danilo will be what we have this year. I agree, Stephen. I think that's what we will run with, 100%. Alan Austin says here, if 5 million appears for Dessers, it will be accepted. You will never see that again. He will be replaced. Like I said, everyone has their price apart from Butland. Things up shaping nicely. Hopefully Davis goes. It's a slow press, but progress is happening. Saul, you're right, 100%. Why we don't try and sign Lennon Miller is a mystery. Miller and Barron in our engine room would give fans a sense of British identity back. I mean, I'd love to see Lennon Miller, mate. I think Alan Miller is a very, very good player. I love to see Lennon Miller play. Alan, we refused that the other day. Well, Dessers did. Yeah, I mean, we accepted the bid from Atlanta United. It was Dessers that turned it down. Nisbet going to Aberdeen. Dessers should play every second game when he scores. Replace with who? Mate, I don't know. Replace it. Do you know what I don't know? Because I haven't got a scouting network. I don't have time to scout the whole of Europe, the whole of South America, the whole of Scandinavia, and the whole of Eastern Europe, because I've got a full-time job as well. You know, I haven't got time to scout. You know, that's Niels Coppen's job. I'm sure if we were to sell Cyril Dessers, Niels Coppen would have someone in mind to bring in and replace him. I don't for a minute think that Niels Coppen would go, bye, Cyril, thanks for the money. Oh, shit, what we're going to do now? I do think that Niels Coppen would say, yeah, absolutely. Alan, ask Coppen. That's the question. Am I a scout? Am I a director of football? Am I a director of recruitment? No, I'm a Rangers fan. That's it. It's plain and simple. Stuart, who would you replace him with? Let's turn the question back on you. Club accepted Bobby. Cyril didn't fancy it. I can't understand how when a player gets injured, we never turn to the youth players. I agree. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see our youth players. That's a decent shout, Stuzo. Never know. Could happen. Why is Danilo in the B team for minutes? Bobby, that's a good point. Maybe it's them managing his return. Maybe that's his managing his recovery. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. I mean, look, I don't want to get into this whole Dessers debate anymore. I've said what I've said on Dessers. I'd be the first to apologise and love it if he scores 30 goals this season and he helps us win the league. Absolutely. 100% would love it, right? It would be great. It would be amazing if he does that. And I'd love it. And I'd love him to bits if he does that. Okay? That's it. And that's all I'm going to say on it. I think we are run badly and that they wouldn't have a replacement in mind for Dessers, says Stuart. I think board-wise, Stuart, you're right. Niels Coppen-wise, I don't think you're right. Thank you, Gary. Dessers has 25 goals in 56 appearances. Our fans are so blinded by groupthink and their need for confirmation bias, says Stephen. Igman on the bench today. Yeah, maybe, buddy. Maybe. I would like to think so, bud. Scott Mackay. Scott, how you doing, buddy? Thank you very much for that. Look, at the end of the day, it is what it is with Dessers. Like I said, I'm not going to get into discussion on Dessers particularly now. On our vote, guys, but obviously get a few more votes in. That would be good. Over 100 of you watching, so please obviously vote. Which young player would you like to give Sivan given an opportunity? 25% of you are saying Rice, 40% are saying Lovelace, 7% saying McKinnon, 28% of you are saying Robbie Fraser. Jamie Lawson's going for a 3-0 today to Rangers. Scott, I'd like to see Igman on the bench today. Of course I would. Give him some minutes, get him out there, get him playing. Look, today's game for me is about three things. It's about three things today. The result, the win, obviously is the most important thing, as every game is. Rangers should win every single game. 100% would I think we need to win every game. Walter Smith said it himself. There is no reason to not expect, as a Rangers player, as a Rangers fan, as a Rangers manager, that you should win every single game. That's fair enough, and I agree with Walter on that. Stuart would like to see Lowry given a chance. Yeah, absolutely, I agree. Lowry, I'd like to see Lowry given a chance. Can't be any worse than Tom Lawrence. Robbie Fraser, yeah, I'd love to see. Look, Gary, you all know my love for Robbie Fraser. I think he's a top player. I think to me, he should play left back today, and Jeff Tay should play left wing. I don't think that'll happen, but that for me, that's what I would do. Priorities for today, like I said, number one is the result. The result is all important. Get the win today, 3 points up the road, and job done. Back to Ibrox, back home. I think it is vital for me. Is vital, but what I want to see today is more of a style. That's the first thing. More of a performance. That's the third thing. The two other things I want to see is style and performance. Clement talked yesterday about the fact that he'd had a whole week with the squad. There'd been no game during the week, so there'd been no recovery sessions. It was just training to get tactics into players, training to get style into players, training to get shape into players, training to get form into players. I want to see today a performance, a style, a quality to what we do today. We started to see elements of that against St Johnstone. Was the St Johnstone performance perfect? No. Was it better than Motherwell? Yes. So we need to start to see an improvement today. What we need to start to see today is the ball being used quicker, more fluidity, more movement, and just more cutting edge around the box, and more clinical in front of goal. If we start to see those 4 elements today, start to see those going into place, then I think we can see that Clement is doing a good job in training, that his coaches, Van der Heyden, Underling, Alex Ray, are doing the right thing in training. They're moving this squad forward. You know, is this squad good enough to win the league at the moment as it stands on the 24th of August? No, of course it isn't. Of course it's not. But if we can start to see a performance today, a quality of play, a style, a high press, a fluidity, a fast attacking style, clinicalness around the box, if we start to see all those elements start to come together today, start to look right, it won't be perfect, it won't be the finished article. I'm not saying for a minute I expect the finished article today, but what I want to see is elements of improvement today, elements of performance today, elements of fluidity to our attacking play, elements of speed to our play, elements of intelligent ball use. All those things starting to come right today, because number one, that will show that what we are doing on the training pitch, on the training field, is working, and that we're starting to move forward as a playing style, as a club. And the second thing is we're therefore getting it right, ready to go up against them next week. Look, they are not a good Celtic team. I'm going to say this until I'm blue in the face. Yes, they won the League and Cup double last season. Well done, boys. But they're not a good Celtic team. They're not Ange Postecoglou's Celtic. Ange Postecoglou's Celtic were a machine that put the fear of God into you. Ange Postecoglou's Celtic were relentless. They never stopped. They never gave up. They never stopped attacking and pushing and throwing you down. They never stopped putting their foot on your throat and never let you get up. Very Australian. That's the Australian way. The Australian way is aggressive. It's in your face. It's once we've got you on the ground as the dog enters the room. Once we've got you once we've got you down, we don't let you get up. That's how Australians play. That's how their rugby teams play. That's how their cricket teams play. That's how their sportsmen are. Even that dancer at the Olympics, comical. That's Australian, and that's not Celtic now. We've got to obviously start to put that together. Why is Clement so reluctant to use Robbie Fraser? I don't know, Stuart. That's a question you'd need to ask Philippe Clement. Morning, Malky. Hefte seems to be a star in the making. Gary, he does. Agreed. 100%. We can play amazing today, have a huge confidence. It will be all undone next week when Tav gets ruined at Parkhead. As per usual, he's hopeless versus that mob. I mean, that does seem to be a common opinion coming through the chat this morning. I still don't know our style of play, Stuart. I think that's why I'm saying we do really need to start to see that today, an element of a style. That's what I want to see. Clement's had a whole week on the training ground. He's had pre-season. He's had a whole week with this squad now. He needs to start to put that together. We started to see elements of it last week. We need to see the whole thing this week, in my opinion. Gary Miller says, so happy to see Matt O'Reilly gone just quietly. Yeah, I mean, like I said at the start of the podcast, Gary, the guy was on 14 grand a week, which is less than 6 to 11 of our players. Even Kieran Dowell earns more than Matt O'Reilly per week was at Celtic. That's pretty shameful, in my opinion, and does show some really bad financial decisions by our board on a player that only cost them 1.5 million. Let's have a look. Stephen says, people asking why the gaffer is reluctant to see Robbie Fraser should have a look at the treatment given to young McCausland after a bad touch or poor pass. Animals. Stephen, I've been a massive fan of McCausland and a massive defender of McCausland. McCausland, for me, is a young player coming up. He's still developing. He's still improving. He needs time. And he will get there. He's a good young player, and he's looking better this season already. So, yeah, I look, Ross McCausland, you're never going to hear me say a bad word about Ross. Love Ross to bits. Really do. Guys, what are your team predictions for today? How are you feeling? What do you think? Stuart, something we agree on. Dowell and Lawrence should be not. Yeah, absolutely. Lawrence will play today. You do know that, Stuart, though, don't you? You do know that, don't you? He will play today. Right. What are your team predictions for today? Who do you think will start? How do you think we'll line up today? Now, I on my video this morning, I'm not going to go over that again. I put how I would line up. I'd like to see Sterling at right back. I'd like to see Bailey Rice get a game. But I don't for a minute think, and that's like to see Danilo start up front. I don't for a minute think that's going to happen, if I'm being honest with you guys. I genuinely don't think that's going to happen. I think that that Clement won't do that. If you ask me now what I think Clement will do today, and we all know that Clement's teams are notoriously very hard to pick and very hard to follow. This is what I think Clement will go with today. That's how I think Clement will line up today. I think he'll go with Butland in goal, Tav, Suter, Balogun. Obviously, Propper's out. We'll be back next week. Hefte, Barron, Diamonde, Tierney, Lawrence, McCausland, and Dessers. That's how I think he will line up. That's how I think Clement will play this game today. Personally, I don't want to see Lawrence because I think, that this has been said not just by me, but by a number of people who watch Rangers. If you go back to last season when Rangers played with Lawrence and Dessers up front, it didn't work. It just didn't work. Lawrence was awful against Celtic in every game against them last year. Really was dreadful against them. So, honestly, I do worry about that one. I don't think that Lawrence can start v Celtic. I think if he does, then we're in trouble. I do think we're in trouble against them. I personally think, yes, Scott, that team is poor. I mean, it's not great, but I mean, that for me will be enough to beat Ross County because it's Ross County. It'll be enough to beat Ross County. Of course it will. We'll beat Ross County with that team because they're better players than Ross County's players. Fact. Scott himself said that last night on the podcast last night. He admitted that, didn't he? So I do think that, overall that team will beat Ross County. I think it's good enough to beat Ross County. Tierney's a good, exciting player. McCausland is. Tom Lawrence, like I said, does have issues. The guy is not looking great. As a number of Rangers analysts have said, they think that Lawrence should be an impact player. That he should be a player that comes off the bench only, not a player that starts the game. So for me, look, that's what I think will happen today. Right, guys, just a reminder before we head off for this morning, head out into the rain. Okay, guys, so just a reminder, we have obviously got the live watch along coming up this afternoon. Please come and join us for that. We've got the podcast this evening, where we will, myself and the legend that is Mr. Curry will be here and we'll be talking all things Rangers. Guys, as always, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your comments. Obviously, as well, thank you if you've liked the video. Thank you so much for that. If you've subscribed to the channel, thank you for that. On the way out, guys, as always, please remember, we are the people.